Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and Apple released iPadOS 27 Beta 1. iPadOS 27 Beta 1 is available to developers only at this time, and iPadOS 27 Public Beta 1 should be out in July. Now there's lots of different features that carry across to iOS 27. I'm going to cover the features that are more specific to iPad and matter only to iPad. Now when it comes to supported iPads, that's changed a little bit this year, where we have support for the iPad mini 6th Gen and A17 Pro, iPad 9th Gen and later and A16, iPad Air 11-inch 4th Gen, M2, M3, and M4, iPad Air 13-inch, M2 and later, iPad Pro 11-inch 2nd Gen and later, iPad Pro 12.9-inch 4th Gen and later, as well as the iPad Pro M4 and later. This came in at 13.79 gigabytes to install it on my M5 iPad Pro 13-inch. Now, when it comes to the first thing they've updated, well, they've updated and refined a ton here with performance, moving from one Wi-Fi network to another, power efficiency in Safari, faster window switching in iPadOS, faster browsing and transfer of files in iPadOS, and much, much more. So this is really a refinement update, but there's quite a few features here as well. Now, first, let's talk about the overall design changes. Right away, you may have noticed some of the icons have changed a little bit. They're a little bit more refined, they have more contrast, they're easier to see, especially if you change them into maybe a different design, such as maybe light mode or something else. And you may have already noticed we have a little paintbrush here when we go to edit now, and when we go to customize, if we switch to the default icons, again, they're more contrasty, have a little bit more liquid glass look. For example, if you take a look at the maps icon, you can see that there, and they've just updated icons throughout, home, and many more. If we switch to clear, they've really fixed this where things are more contrasted, easier to see. Depending if you're using a light or dark mode, you can see that here. They're just easier to use, the clear icons, and everything just looks a little bit better now. Now let's switch back, and one thing you may not have noticed already is if we press and hold again, you'll see we have an undo button. So we can undo what we just changed, we can redo, and sometimes this doesn't work entirely, but let me go ahead and customize. You'll see here, if we maybe switch to clear, go back in, we'll go back in here. Now we can undo and go back. So this is something, again, keep in mind this is a beta, but you can switch back and forth, switching between what you had before just to sort of change it to something you might like a little bit better. One thing many people will be very happy with that don't really like liquid glass is there's now a liquid glass slider. Go into your settings here, go to Appearance, and then under Appearance, go to Liquid Glass, and you'll see a slider here. Let me switch over to dark mode, and you can see the slider here. You can move the wallpaper to see it, and if we give it more of a glass look, sometimes this doesn't work entirely. It's a little bit buggy, but if we switch all the way here, let's go back in, we'll switch all the way here, and again, it sort of goes to a more opaque look. So it's something that definitely gets rid of liquid glass. And then of course you have all your accessibility settings to get rid of it even more. So I'll just leave it in the middle for now. And this is what it's set up as default. Another thing they've changed has to do with widgets. So if we go back over to the widget pane here or Today view, you'll see we have extra large widgets. We have them for quite a few things such as Smart Stacks, Calendar, Home, Music, News, Notes, Photos, Reminders, Shortcuts, Stocks, TV, and then Weather. So we have that for weather. And also another thing is if we go into the Weather app, they've redone this a little bit. And another small design change is every app that you're in will actually tell you the name of the app in the upper left. So you'll see here there's a slight difference where we can change through some of the information such as precipitation. There's a 5% chance later today. And then also if we go to the next one, we can see wind, and then we have more information about that. So this just gives you a little bit of an overview and then gives you some additional highlights. In addition to this, we have some changes on the lock screen here. So you do have to pull down from the top left, Control Center's top right, and Siri is in the middle. We'll get to that in a moment. But if we press and hold, then we go to customize. We can customize this wallpaper that I have here where we can change the color. This is actually the default wallpaper. So if we swipe through, we have a dynamic mode that changes throughout the day. And then we also have the default iPadOS 27 wallpaper. If we go back over, again, we can change the color. We can go back to whatever we'd like here, switch this around, go to the color picker, and really customize it however we'd like. So you have those options now. In addition to this, we have the option here where we can sort of get rid of this. So tap on this icon here and it jumps into the top if you don't want a larger clock. So that's some customization you have as well. So some small changes throughout that you'll see. Another thing Apple has updated that I know quite a few people will be happy with has to do with sounds. If we go into settings and scroll down to sounds, you'll see a couple additional options here for alarms and timers and alerts and system sounds. You can now turn these off so they're no longer set by default, and now you can adjust these individually. So you've got your ringtone, your alarm and timers, as well as your alerts and system sounds. So if you want to change this and customize it, you can. If you want to leave it how it's always been, just keep it turned on by default. Another thing that's been updated that we've been wanting for years has to do with AirPods. If you have AirPods Pro 2, AirPods Pro 3, AirPods 4, or AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation, there's currently a beta for AirPods where you'll get an EQ. AirPods Max 2 is coming later with Beta 2. But if we go into our settings for AirPods, let's go ahead and connect them. So they're connected to our device here. We've got the menu in the left now. And if we go into this, we've got an all new menu here. But if we go under audio and routing, you'll see that we now have the option for equalizer. Now, this isn't an incredible equalizer, but it is very helpful and adjustable as you're playing it. So if we go into custom, we can adjust it however we want or reset it. Let me go ahead and place one in my ear and play a song. So within settings here, you'll see that I have a waveform of the song that's playing and what the song is. I can bring the bass up, bring the mids down, bring the highs up, reset it, and try out any different combination. It's not a very complex equalizer, but it's more than we had before. And I think tweaking this just a little bit makes them sound a little bit better. Again, as I mentioned, we have an all new menu for the AirPods themselves. So it just looks a little bit better. It's a little more organized. And again, this carries across to iOS also. Now on the left-hand side, if we scroll down, you'll see that we have Siri. Siri is all new. It's much more intelligent. It's utilizing some information from Google's Gemini model, but not using that model, and also utilizing private cloud compute. You technically have to join a wait list. It's available in English only, and for now it's not available in the EU or China. So that's a bit of a disappointment, but we do have this at least enabled on this device. Now, one of the nice things is the new animation for this. So of course you can say, hey, and then the keyword, and then let me try that here. Hey Siri. And you'll see it just pops down like that. So we can also bring it in by pressing and holding the power sleep wake button, and we've got this new animation. Also, we have sort of the text to Siri option or sort of search, but if we pull down just a little bit, we've got this little water droplet that follows us around, or if we just continue to pull down, we get suggestions, and then of course our different apps and search and ask. So again, let's do that a little bit, and then you can drag this left or right. It looks pretty great. And then again, let go, and it comes down into a text dialog. So this is great. Great animations. It's something Apple's always been good at, but you'll see some of it's not perfect with the keyboard just sort of disappearing. So it just sort of jumps off the screen instead of fades. So I'm sure some of this will be fixed in future updates. Now, when it comes to how Siri is, let's try something very simple. What iPad am I using? Let's see what it does here. And instead of going in telling me specifically what it is, it's having me select what iPad I'm using. So it still has a ways to go for certain things, but it's much more intelligent in other ways. For example, within messages, it can then suggest things that goes along through the whole OS, understanding context and what's on the screen. So maybe we'll try something else. Could you plan a trip to the local Apple store and then maybe to a coffee shop on the way home? And just plan all that out for me, please. So I'll pick this one here. So it understood what I wanted, and then it's giving some coffee shops nearby as well. So it's definitely a lot more intelligent. It probably has a little ways to go, so we'll get rid of it here. And it's much better. It responds better. It looks better in CarPlay, for example, and just really understands and sounds a lot better. Now, in future versions, I'll be able to change the responsiveness. So you'll see expressive voice previews, and you can go into voice, and you can't really adjust any of this just yet, but you have basically a female and male voice sound.
Some things I like to...
Hi, let's find the right voice for you. I'll practice some things I like to say while...
Could you tell me about the weather this week in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then into next week?
This week in Charlotte, North Carolina, expect warm conditions with a mix of sun and scattered thunderstorms. High temperatures will generally range from the mid-70s to the mid-80s, with rain most likely on Saturday.
So that gives you an idea of what Siri sounds like. And again, it's more intelligent and can be used throughout. So you can use natural language throughout the OS. Another thing we can do is go into the Siri app. So let's find where it put it here. We have the Siri app. If we go into this, you'll see that we just had this conversation about what the weather is like, and it's giving that information. I can go back into maybe this one that I tried on the MacBook. It keeps all of these records, and of course we can delete them or pin them. So that's in the Siri app, and you can continue to use it there. Now, in addition to this, we have some other changes throughout, things such as Image Playground. That has a new icon as well. So I think I passed it here. Let me find it. If we go into Image Playground, we can now generate different things. So this is something I generated a long time ago, but if we go into maybe generate something new, we have the option for a wallpaper, a contact poster, or an image that's higher resolution now. So we can try maybe a wallpaper in maybe landscape mode. So now I'm in landscape. It took a couple presses here, and then we have different styles as well. So let's go ahead and try it on device and see what we can do. So maybe make a wallpaper that looks similar to the new iOS 27 wallpaper, but maybe has more color in it. Let's see if it understands that. And then we have a new status window as well. And I made these wallpaper before. So it created this. Let's go ahead and take a look. So it's sort of the same, but it also has the frame of an iPhone for some reason. So I've found this to be a bug within the update, and it's something you can of course change. Get rid of the frame around the wallpaper and change the pink maybe to a darker blue color, and then the gold color, maybe let's make orange. And then it will make it this way. So there we go. Now it created something completely different. So I've saved the image, and if you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description. Now, if we go into Photos, there's some updates here. Within the Photos app, we have some new sort options. If we go to our options, we have newest and oldest. This is super helpful, is something that should be obvious but wasn't there before. And then of course we can see more media types captured by me and others. But we also get some new editing tools that use Siri or Apple Intelligence. So let's go into this one. This is a photo I took some time ago, and let's go ahead and edit this photo. So we'll give it just a moment to pop up some of the options. And within this, we can then go to Tools here on the left. And within Tools, we have Cleanup, Extend, or Reframe. Cleanup has been enhanced quite a bit. I don't know how good it is, but let's try it out. Now the tools have downloaded just like before. Let's see if we can get rid of this big tree here. And maybe this one also, this part. Let's see if it understands it. We'll select more of it. See if it understands that at all and what it does with the background. So that looks pretty close. Let's go ahead and tap Cleanup and see what it does. This could be terrible. It could be a great job. I'm not really sure. So again, let's give it just a moment here. It's the first time trying this on anything this complex. So let's go ahead and hit undo. You'll see what it looked like before. Here's after. I think it looks pretty good. It recognized there's a trail there and sort of kept that going. So that's pretty impressive. Another thing we have is extend. So maybe we want to extend the photo outside the photo. Just like this, we'll pinch, extend, and let's see what it creates. So it's complete, and I think that's pretty impressive. Again, it says your photo has been extended, and then if we go back, you'll see what it looked like before. Now the last thing is super impressive, at least what Apple showed. If we go to reframe, we can change the perspective of the photo. So we'll give it just a moment here, and now we can just drag it to wherever we'd like, maybe over here or down here, whatever we think looks best. We can't change a ton of it, but maybe up like that, and we'll hit reframe and see what it does. So there we go. It reframed that. I think that's pretty impressive what it looked like before. You can tap to see before and after, and you wouldn't really know that it was reframed. Pretty impressive. So that's what you can do with Photos now, along with some other options for sharing with family and more, along with Android phones and Windows as well. So you can do that within Photos. Now the next thing has to do with Freeform. Freeform doesn't get a huge update, but if we go into Freeform, we'll get a splash screen here. You'll see that it now works in dark mode. And then we have folders where you can organize your boards into folders and invite others to collaborate. Also, Shortcuts gets a very impressive update. So if we go into Shortcuts, let's go ahead and create a new one. And we can create one just by talking to it and telling it what we want. So create a shortcut that turns on Do Not Disturb, shuts off Screen Lock to never, and then also changes auto brightness to off and sets brightness to 50%. Now this doesn't really work well on the iPhone as far as turning off the auto lock feature, but let's see what it can do. So it says finding actions, assembling your shortcut, and it says this shortcut will turn on do not disturb, set brightness to 50%, auto lock and auto brightness must be changed manually. So at least it's aware of that, but you can then hopefully change this in the future where they'll give access to that. But so far they haven't. But again, you can create any shortcut just with natural language now as long as the action is available. Another change that's iPad specific has to do with Apple News. Within Apple News, we have audio, and Apple News audio support has finally been added to iPad. So that's something we didn't have before that we now have with iPadOS 27 if you have News Plus. Safari also gets some updates. So if we go into Safari, then we tap the option here, we now have a new option to notify me. If anything changes on the actual page we're on, we can have it notify us. So maybe if iPhone 18 shows up on this page, it can notify us and it can check every day, or it can check at a specific time, weekly, monthly, and then again at a specific time. So if iPhone 18 showed up, for example, it would then let me know, or maybe a change to the page in general. Also, we can auto-organize our tabs. So if we go to all of our tabs, go into our options here, we have organized tabs by recommended topic or automatically. These are new options that can, again, organize it. It did that, found that this was Apple and device related specific, and now it's created a new group for me. Again, we can go into different options to move tabs, looks good, or something isn't right, so we can report that. But this is a great option where it will group things automatically and help you organize. Also within iPad, if maybe you download an app that's iPhone specific and they haven't created an iPad app yet, much like Instagram for many years, you'll be able to resize that to the iPad size. This looks like it might be getting ready for future hardware, but just like you can go into your weather app and resize it, you'll be able to do this with any iPhone app as well. So now it looks more like it's an iPhone app here, but maybe you only have that option. You could resize it and stretch it to the entire display. Now, other than that, you're not going to see a whole lot of changes compared to iOS 27. They didn't really make many different changes specific to iPad this year, but it is a nice refinement update, of course, with those added niceties that I already showed you. So for example, in podcasts, you have search within a show, video transcripts, and improved accessibility, just like you do on iOS. So all of those things have been updated in iOS and iPadOS and carry across to both operating systems. So lots of great things here. Stability is the number one thing, and battery should improve over time. If we take a look at general here, we'll go back to general, you'll see that I'm no longer indexing. So this particular device isn't indexing any longer, so now battery should improve. So if you're wondering about overall battery life on this update, well, it's too soon to tell. So on iPhone, for example, it's still indexing for many, many days later, but on iPad, it looks like it finally finished. But on my iPhone, it's still indexing. So this can take some time, and just give it some time, maybe even a week or more, depending on how much you have on your device, and then everything should improve. But if we take a look at battery, on this one, we'll go down to battery health. I'm at 100% with 97 cycles, and overall usage has not been great, but again, keep in mind that it has been indexing in the background. So since Monday, installing the update, you'll see that it was plugged in quite a bit, but then the next day it wasn't, and I used 41% of the battery with just 2 hours and 23 minutes of screen on time. So it's going to take some time to improve. Now that it's done indexing, it should start to improve quite a bit. As far as overall performance, it's been performing better than the iPhone at least, but maybe that's because we have a newer processor or a more powerful processor. Everything is super smooth finally, scrolling back and forth. Occasionally you'll get some lag, but nothing like you do on iPadOS 26.5. So this is way, way better, and so far things just seem to work much better, much more fluid in and out. Resizing different apps, everything seems to be very smooth and like you would expect from iOS. So this is great news, and hopefully it gets even better with future betas. Speaking of future betas, we do expect some updates, hopefully in a couple weeks at this point. So let's find the calendar here. I don't use it often on the iPad. So based on what we typically see, I would expect maybe a beta 2, maybe in a couple weeks here. However, last year we actually had a beta 1.5 on Friday, so we could see something like that. But at this point, I wouldn't expect anything for at least a couple weeks, and then a public beta sometime in early July. Of course, we'll have betas throughout the summer, along with iPadOS 26 betas, with a public release sometime in September. As far as anything else, well, we can take a look at storage, but there's not much more to talk about here. So let's go ahead and take a look at settings. We'll go to general and then iPad storage. Go down to the bottom and you'll see iPadOS is taking up a total of 34.81 gigabytes, 15 gigabytes of the OS, 19 gigabytes for Apple Intelligence. So it does take up quite a bit. I have a ton of storage, so it's not an issue. And then also system data goes up and down as needed. So this is something you don't typically pay attention to, and it will handle itself on its own. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iPadOS 27 Beta 1, at this point, I would probably wait for the public beta. That's when it's typically safe to use on maybe your main device, but if it's a production device, probably wait until it's released to the public. Overall, it's good, but I still have had some issues, especially on the iPhone side. So that's everything with iPadOS 27. Let me know what you think of it so far on your iPad and which iPad you're using. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.